How are you today? It is Thursday, July 9th. I always look down, I know what day it is, but I always look down at the corner of my computer to say, is it right? Is this the right date? Because I want you to know where you're at. Thursday, July 9th. You're watching Leader to Leader, presented by LEAD Brevard. I hope you're having a great day today. It's another beautiful day here in paradise. I am Geo Ropert from Ropert and Partners Public Relations, Leadership Brevard class of 2001, the absolute undisputed best class, at least I say so. And many folks disagree, except those that were in my class. But we're happy to be here with you today. This is our ongoing series of leadership conversations with Leadership Brevard graduates. It happens every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You know all that right here on the LEAD Brevard Facebook page. And we'll keep doing it because we keep getting folks calling up and saying, hey, I'd like to be on the show. And we're taking them as they come. And no shortage of great people and community leaders. Today, I'm going to introduce you to somebody who truly is leading our community in a very unique way, and someone that without her expertise and without the work of her organization, be a lot of people in trouble. So we'll be speaking with her in just a second. Want to remind you that Leadership Brevard is doing the registration for their 2020-2021 class. If you know of anybody, if you're a graduate and you want to make sure you've got your fellow folks in your office, your employees, somebody in the community that needs to be a part of Leadership Brevard because you know what a great experience it is, make sure you get registered. It sells out each and every year, so get in while you're getting as good. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that towards the end of the show. As I said, I have an incredible guest with me today. There's a lot of things going on right now with the COVID-19. Oh, I said it. I try not to say it, but I did. And it's there. And it's impacting a lot of people. And there's a lot of folks that are at risk of being homeless. There are folks that are, on their last leg right now. And I'm very honored to welcome our guest, Tara Pagliarini. She is the executive director of Family Promise in Brevard. It is the Family Promise of Brevard, of course, is committed to ending homelessness by collaborating with our community to provide families the support and resources they need to put themselves on a path towards long-term housing stability. Tara, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Gio.
Well, tell us a little bit about Family Promise, because this is an organization that does a tremendous amount of great work in our community, but I don't think a lot of people are really familiar or know exactly what you folks do.
Yeah, we have been around in Brevard County for the past 7 years. I was hired in 2013 to help launch a startup nonprofit that was committed to ending family homelessness, and it sounded like this massive, just big fat hairy goal, and I was really intrigued by it. And what I learned quickly is that our county, I came from Maryland and then South Carolina down into Florida, and I've always worked with very vulnerable populations, but as I moved into Florida, really learned the significance of what families are facing on a regular basis. We launched because there was no place for a family to stay together if they were experiencing a housing crisis. And even though there was this massive, big goal, what I quickly learned was that I was surrounded by very compassionate leaders within our community that wanted to be part of the solution and wanted to be actively helping families stabilize. And so I said yes to executive directorship, and we launched in 2013. We started with our emergency shelter program, which instead of a brick and mortar location, we actually partnered with congregations located throughout Brevard County. Right now we have 31, and they agree to host families within their buildings for a week at a time, up to 4 times a year. And they provide nutritious meals and they donate that. And then our staff comes in and works with families to return back to stable housing. So that's just the shelter program. We learned quickly that, it wasn't enough to, and I don't mean just feed and shelter a family, but we really needed to make sure that family did not return to homelessness. And so we stayed working with families for a year in what we call stabilization. to make sure families had the financial coaching, that they had the landlord mitigation, that they had linkage to resources, whatever the family need, we wanted to be there for a year. And so we launched that program. And then most recently, and very timely for what's happening right now, is that we learned that 75% of the calls that we started to receive from families were families who were not yet homeless, but families who were actually preparing to become homeless because they had fallen behind in their rent, mortgage, or utilities. And I thought, this is crazy. You know, I love that we shelter families. I love that we can work with them for a year to stability, but let's keep them from coming into our program in the first place. So let's work with families to keep them in the housing that they have. Not only is it like taking off the emotional and educational toll that homelessness has on families if they become homeless, but what it does, it's a huge cost savings to our community, Geo. You know, it costs an average of $260 to prevent a child from becoming homeless, but it costs about $5,000 to help them return to housing if they become homeless. So here we are, Family Promise of Brevard, 7 years later, we've helped over 2,500 families stabilize in permanent housing. So we're really excited to be here in the community and working so closely with our congregations and other community agencies to really make a difference. Oh, I can't hear you. There you are.
There you go. Yeah, I've been nodding and saying little things there, here and there. I just forgot to turn the other button on. But yeah, so it is a noble cause. It is something that we know exists out there, and it's something we don't see it.
Yes.
Most likely, but we know it's there. How many homeless families do we currently have in Brevard County? Do you know?
You know, it's a hard count. You know, in prior school years, it was up to almost 3,000 students because the Brevard County School District has what they call the students in transition number. Mm-hmm. So when a family comes to register their children for school, if they don't have a permanent residence, they're considered in transition. So this may be a family living doubled up with others, in a hotel or motel, in a vehicle, in a tent. And it's just astounding that that number has gotten so high. With COVID-19, I don't think that we have an accurate picture of where that number fell at the end of this school year, but we know that it's significant. It's been steadily increasing every year because of the disparity between wages and the cost of housing. Right. We know going into COVID-19 that 40% of Brevard County was one paycheck away from potentially losing housing if there was an unforeseen circumstance. And, you know, COVID-19 is it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is something. I know, well, you were a grad, I usually say this at the very beginning, but you were a graduate of the class of 2020, which was
best class ever. Like seriously, the best class ever. I mean, look what we went through. Like, come on, we need that badge. It's the badge.
You know, yeah, you really do need that. It's a badge of honor for what you did go through and to make it through. And I know the year before that, I think the Leadership Brevard class took on the issue of homelessness. Yes. And affordable housing, and that's continued. In fact, I sit on the Affordable Housing Coalition, if you want to call us that, yes. Along with Vinnie Toronto and some other folks, Dolores Spearman, yep. Robin Hadaway, and looking at the issues and trying to find out, you know, where can we start putting some homes so that we can get people out of homelessness, so we can get them stabilized. So we're working right now, I know, on some properties in Cocoa and some of the other cities are identifying space where we may be able to build some affordable housing. We've got developers now who are in the game. They are willing to, you know, put up their business, and they found ways to do this affordably and be able to build housing. So it is, you know, I know the community's working hard. We're all working together, but you've got a big task. You have got an absolutely big task, and one that's, it's not going to go away. We know that. And so, you know, the best we can do is the best we can do, you know, get as many people as we can stable and in homes and keep them from being evicted. I know we were talking before the show that they have extended the moratorium on evictions and foreclosure. So hopefully, yeah, it's giving people a little bit of time, but, you know, without the jobs to go back to, or the economy humming like it should be, we're still going to have a lot of problems going forward. Tara, let me ask you this. How are you leading your organization during this time? Because it is obviously you've had to do a big adaptation, and I'm sure in the way your team works and how you're communicating, even that one-on-one with the folks that you work with, the folks that you serve.
Right. Yeah. To get to a point from your previous question, and it leads into this, is, you know, as terrible as COVID is, you know, it has put family homelessness at the forefront, and the fragility of families who are living paycheck to paycheck. Because as soon as the pandemic hit, we saw just a significant spike in first-time callers. Exactly what we had predicted was going to happen happened. And I've been kind of beating the drum for 7 years saying, hey, families in this community really need innovative solutions here. You know, families are doing the best that they can. They're working 2 and 3 jobs, and they still can't afford the cost of housing in Brevard County. We have to do better than this. And we have to be creative in helping families continue to remain stably housed. And so the pandemic really just brought it to the forefront. So it's really, again, just not a great thing, but something that people can relate to, I think, a little bit better than they did before, because it was like, they're homeless, I'm not. And it's a very polarizing word, homeless. So kind of brought some common ground.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as we've been ready for the pandemic prior, just because of the kind of work that we do and our focus on helping families remain stable. So we really already had the infrastructure of our case management in place and our stabilization and prevention programs. I think our hardest hit was our shelter. We had to shut our shelter program down, and that feels terrible. You know, it felt really terrible because what's beautiful about our shelter program, and what makes it so unique, is that we do it out in the community, but it's also the thing that makes it the most vulnerable to spreading disease, because families are staying in congregations together. We're serving 4 families at a time in that program. They're together. They're in congregations with volunteers who are really the most at-risk age population has historically been the most at risk to becoming susceptible to some kind of disease. So we had to shut it down. It was a tough decision. But what we found really quickly was that our community stepped forward and saying, okay, well, the shelter shut down, but how can we still work with those same families to make sure that they have food, to make sure that they still have a plan, to make sure that they have whatever educational materials they need to keep going forward? You know, how can we help? And so, you know, with the community, we've been able to continue to serve those who are seeking shelter. We didn't turn off our phones. We kept taking the calls and we've kept working. And then when 28 North says, hey, how can we help feed those families? And Church at Viera says, hey, we have volunteers that want to drive those meals out to families. You know, how can we collaborate? And then we started working with Matt Susan with the school district in that corridor of O'Galley, and saying, you know, how can we make sure that those families have diapers, wipes, that they have the laptops that they need, that they have the support that they need to keep going forward. And that is, you know, our focus here. We're just moving forward. It's not stopping. We're moving forward.
And that's, you know, and I think that's something to be well said, is that, you know, our community steps up. If there's anything about Brevard County, this is a caring community. This is a united community. When there is a need, people will do anything they can to make sure that that we have the opportunity to be able to serve others, and to make sure our neighbors aren't wanting for things. Although, like I said, again, just a big job. Tara, let me ask you, in your experience, because it is just fresh with Leadership Brevard, did you find, and I'll relate this back to the conversation we've been having, did you find the ability to get other resources, or to engage people, your classmates, the people that you met in the community, to better understand what you're going through, what your organization is going through, and how did Leadership Brevard help you in doing what you're doing and continuing on today?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what I loved about LEAD Brevard was, you know, I'm really most of my time is exposure to other nonprofit agencies or entities or social service agencies, and we can't solve it. I don't mean it like we're not good at what we do. We are, but it can't just be us. It cannot just be the nonprofit world attacking this. It has to be a community response. And so my exposure in LEAD Brevard, you know, here I'm walking alongside leaders from so many other sectors that have said, you know, well, how can I help? You know, what can I do? We have these resources. You know, we'd love to combine efforts. You know, great examples of that are just through like some of our events. You know, one of our classmates, George, he, you know, printed shirts for our event in the spring because he's very passionate about our cause. You know, was able to help get our message out, you know, well. And, you know, after the class ended, you know, one of our classmates, Rebecca Granger, you know, we have a project going on that I asked her, hey, you were outstanding in our LAP team, you know, would you be willing to help with this project? And she didn't hesitate, absolutely. And that LAP team that we started, we actually picked Breaking the Cycle of Poverty in Brevard. And it was as you said earlier, you know, LEAD Brevard has touched, you know, the cost of homelessness. We know the cost of homelessness is $27 million back in 2016. Then we know that we're 1,000 units shy of meeting the housing demand from that next class. And then the class after, we did one to raise awareness about family homelessness. And then, you know, this past one was breaking the cycle of poverty. Now, how do we do that? And so we've kind of taken that project, Family Promise, and we're going to continue working in COCO to address the area of highest need based on information and the project that got started in LEAD Brevard. So the exposure has just been awesome. The thinking, you know, I love being exposed to leaders in different sectors. It's made me think differently and respond differently. And it's just been an incredible experience.
That's great. Yeah, you do. You really do achieve a more holistic view of the community. And realize that, you know, your needs are great, but there are also other great needs, and you know, and then come to that realization that, you know, how do we divvy up the pie? How do, you know, the resources that we have, realizing that while they are vast, they are limited. And so, you know, how does each person, how does each organization get what they need without straining the fiscal system of resources and the time, talent, and treasure of people who are willing to donate their time, energies, and finances to something like that. So it is great. And that's one thing I did appreciate when I went through the class, was just the awakening, I think, and the understanding of what the real needs here are in the community and how we can help. And like I said, though, yet how far we have to go. And so it's tough, but I admire you. I know I used to work for a Brevard Family Partnership, and we worked with the children who were, you know, abused, neglected in foster care, and a lot of times working with families who were on the edge and, you know, on the verge of homelessness, and trying to do that through the Brevard Cares program, you know, trying to keep the family whole so that things like this didn't happen. They didn't end up homeless. And if they did, you know, how did we keep them together so that parents didn't lose the kids and the kids didn't lose the parents? Because, you know, once that family separates, now just add that on top of everything else that's going on, and you really got a conundrum that is hard to solve and takes even more resources. So
yeah,
I really do appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and I hope that we do find the solutions and we do move forward, and hopefully, you know, if nothing else, we're in the kind of community that at least we can try and make it better, and we're all going to put an effort into it. So definitely make that happen. So working from home, working in the office, what's your deal here? So
a little of both. I think, I think everyone's going through that same Zoom fatigue. Hopefully it didn't keep them from
I love
watching.
Zoom every day. I dream of Zoom now.
Hopefully, I think I offered to Zoom with someone. They're like, "Can we just meet in person?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Sure, yeah." What a novel idea. Let's do it, but let's 6 feet apart.
We are looking.
Yeah, a little of both. I have 3 school-aged kids, children that were different levels of need. So during the beginning, I was doing school kind of in the morning until 12, and then I actually could come into the office and work, here from 12 to 8. Didn't get very much done from home with the kids and the dog and the fun that was happening. But, now we've kind of settled into a routine here. We have some policies and procedures in place. And the great news is we can do a lot of our work remotely. We do a lot of, Teams work with Microsoft. And then, for our families, we're doing kind of that telehealth, working with them as remotely as we can, but consistently. So a little of both.
Okay, great. Hey, as we wrap it up here, how can people find out more about Family Promise?
Yeah, best way is to go to our website. It's familypromiseofbrevard.org. We have a lot of communications coming out on social media as well. So that's a great place to catch us. We're in the process of rebranding. So our website's going to be looking different soon. We're part of a national organization called Family Promise, and there are actually over 200 affiliates like us across the country. There's 12 in Florida. And each of our mission is to end family homelessness using community resources. So as a national brand, our colors and our look are changing just a little bit. So we're excited to unveil that new website coming out soon. And our impact report is about to come out. So look for that. And that's a great way, but certainly anybody can reach out to me, through the website or in any capacity to talk more. Again, we're certainly better together, and there's a lot of ideas out there that are just really incredible.
Great. Well, Tara, thank you so much. If you could just hang around for a second, I'm going to wrap the show up and bring you back on, say our final goodbyes. You have been watching Leader to Leader. Our guest today, Tara Pagliarini from Family Promise of Brevard. That's a pretty heady discussion we had here today, talking about the homelessness situation in Brevard. But we have a great organization like them to help ensure we keep that to as minimal as possible, that we do help families out, that there are resources to keep them together, to keep them from being that one half step away from not having a place to stay. So if you would like to do check them out and find out a way that you might be able to help them. I'd like to thank you for watching us today. You have been watching Leader to Leader, presented by LEAD Brevard. As the reminder, as we always do, the classes are filling up right now for 2020, 2021. So each and every one is the best class, and we continue to bring you nothing but the best. And hopefully you've been enjoying these shows. That's a great insight into what's happening in our community, how our leaders are adapting, how they are leading through times of crisis and change. And we are very honored that each one of them comes on and shares their insights with us. Catch it every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Coming up next week, do a quick look at my notes here. So just we have that. We have Amasita Maloon Gibson on Tuesday. Suzanne Sparling from Eastern Florida State College is coming on Wednesday, and Thursday, Amar Patel will be joining us. So we've got some great guests lined up for next week. No shortage of talent. And also, if you would like to help sponsor this program, we are looking for those folks. Any organization or business that would like to get more visibility amongst Leadership Brevard alumni and also amongst our community. We get great numbers of views for each and every show. You can go to leadbrevard.org to find out more information, or call LEAD Brevard at 321-632-8222 for more information, and you can find out how you can help. If you are in need of elevating your brand, your reputation, your organization's reach, you want to tell a better story, you want to get more support, you want to get your business to grow, this is where I come in. At Ropert and Partners, we can help you out with your public relations and marketing needs. We're there to serve you, and we do serve. You can find more information at Ropert, the word, and partners.com, or give me a call directly at 321-632-822. Even if you want to talk some strategies, I'm always open to a complimentary call to help you. I pay it forward. I am here to serve our community as well, and having a great time doing it and doing this show. Well, again, thank you, Tara, for being here today. I wish you well. I know you've got a big job ahead of you, and it's never ending, but you've got a great person like you in charge, and I know that that good things are going to come out of Family Promise. So again, thank you for being here, and thank you everyone for being here. You're watching Leader to Leader. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.